everybody. Welcome to another sensational session of Strike a Chord Live podcast with my dear brother, Collin Harbour. He's right there in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. I'm Marcus Ellis. I'm here in Pensacola, Florida. Collin, why don't you tell him who we are?
We are two lifelong friends with a love of baseball, music, motivation, and inspiration mixed with a little bit of nostalgia, culture, transformation, and fun. And we want you to take the journey with us.
This is Strike a Chord Live podcast. Well, happy Friday, man. Good morning.
How's it going today?
Man, as James Brown says, if I was any better, I'd have to jump back and kiss myself.
Oh, man. That would be fun.
Yeah, I don't know what that means, but he said, jump back. Gotta kiss myself. I don't know what that means, but
yeah, well, you're full of energy today. My goodness.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's Friday. White Tie's got a show this weekend, but I digress. I'd like to say good morning to everybody that's watching live. Thank y'all so much for pulling up and being with us. We already have some commentators. Let's see who that is. It's probably Ryan Little. Good morning, brother. I love you. We'll have to get into the Facebook group so I can see who's commenting, because for some reason StreamYard says you have to give permission for folks to see your comments. So let's see. Yeah, we got one. It is Ryan Little. Good morning, brother. I love you. Yeah, I'll call you about that house, man. We need to go out to Pace next week and look at that house. But anyways, Collin, man, welcome. Happy Friday. What you got on the books today? What's going on?
Just a little bit of this and a little bit of that, you know, work, I guess. I'm trying to wake up, even though I've been awake. You know, I've been awake for a while. We talked about it. So I've been awake for a while, but I still haven't woken up, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. Yeah, Ryan says he did the permission, but your name doesn't show up in StreamYard. I can see you in Facebook. But anyways, love you, bro. Good to see you. Well, let's talk about something that's been going on that has been rattling around my brain a lot. I've made some the memes and things like that, and it's faith over fear, like confidence over fear. I know a lot of people walk around fearful of many things, financial issues, health issues, all kinds of things like that. But good morning, happy Friday. Good morning, Matt Johnson. I love you, man. Good to see you. We also want to say we see you, all the kids and children and folks watching on the hashtag replay. We appreciate you guys. Justina LeRae, it's been a while. Good to see you. But Collin, what comes to mind to you when we talk about faith over fear and having confidence over fear?
Yeah, when you think about a leap of faith, right? That's what it really is. It's a leap of faith. You are choosing faith over fear. Fear's the easy thing. And by the way,
man,
I fear a lot of things. This is a struggle for me. When you talk about the financial fear, people fear that they can't pay their bills. They can't make their house payment, whatever form, or whatever structure they live in. People can't pay their bills. We were talking about some other bills earlier in some scenarios. And so, it's a very real thing, especially, when you think about the money aspect of it in today's society, when there's so many people that have so much money. And I'm not making a political statement. I'm making a factual statement, right? Or in some cases, there's so many people who act like they have so much money. So your kids are around it, and we've grown up around it. But yeah, fear is real. Fear is something that it's hard to avoid. The fear of being sick. Now somebody coughs, they go search cough on the internet and self-determine, self-diagnose cancer or something,
Yeah. Well, so what do you do? What is your MO for getting over that fear? What are things you do? I mean, I think I know the answer, that you probably just get to work and put your nose to the grindstone, right? And I have a different one, but what is yours?
So yeah, that's good. I mean, get to work, put the nose to the grindstone, try to. It's interesting. Rick Warren the last week. So I read a lot of the Rick Warren stuff, listen to the podcast,
You listen to him too.
What's that?
I listen to him too every day.
Yeah, and then I wouldn't say I do it every day. I used to every day, but I do it regularly, and he's been talking a lot about fear and that kind of stuff the last week or so.
Right. Well, that's exactly where I was going, is that I've learned in the provision aspect and in money coming in, which as entrepreneurs, it is very easy. I mean, so easy to get freaked out and then, oh my goodness, I don't have any money. I have 5 kids. We have all these things to go. But the takeaway that I want to give, like right off the bat, that has helped me in the past 2 years since I started this entrepreneurial journey is my faith in God. Right. In Luke 12:24, we know that's when it says, consider the ravens. They do not sow or reap. They don't have a storeroom or a barn, yet God feeds them. And how much more valuable are you than the birds? How much more does God love you than the birds? If he provides for the flowers, water, and seed for the birds, certainly he's going to provide for us. So that's really, what helps me in my anxiety. I was talking with somebody on Facebook that was thanking me for the post that I put out. And they said, I've just been so anxious. And I was like, man, you got to give that up to God. I mean, seriously. So, that to me is the number one thing that helps me through those hard times. And before, when I didn't have that, I was just spinning myself in the ground like a Tasmanian devil. So,
yeah, I mean, faith in God is very important if you're going to overcome fear, right? And when you talk about anxiety, there's self-induced anxiety, there's clinical anxiety, right? So I don't think I have clinical anxiety. I think I have self-induced anxiety.
yeah, I agree. We get into our own heads, and when we try to do things on our own, that's when things start to go south in our mind. But let's talk about another aspect. There are relationship fears. I met a gentleman on the street a couple of days ago that is concerned that his wife is leaving him. We had a long conversation, and I just said, do you think there's somebody else in the picture? And he's like, there's absolutely not. It's just like she said, she's fallen out of love with me. And I'm not here to give relationship advice because I'm not that guy. I can only tell you about my failures in that. And thank God, God brought me my beautiful wife, Laura. But there's so many other aspects that I think a lot of people first go to finances. But there's, like you said, there's health, there's relationship fears, there's, fear for your kids. I don't have a fear of dying. Do you have a fear of dying?
Sometimes, so it's funny because sometimes I do. I mean, I guess it's not funny, but sometimes when I'm flying,
Yeah.
and we're, 30,000 feet or however high a plane goes, and I'm sitting there and we've been on a flight for an hour and I'm sitting there, I start to think, what if this thing just falls out of the sky and this is it? And I'm not kidding. And then I start going through this process in my mind of, oh, I may be living my last 30 seconds, and and then it like causes this anxiety. Like
Right.
I'm being dead serious.
Yeah.
And not every time, but sometimes when I fly, it does that. Sometimes when I'm laying in bed at night and it's the middle of the night or
Yeah.
something, I
Yeah.
will think, a lot of times people die in their sleep. What if I die in my sleep? And then I'll get so again, that doesn't happen all the time, but it does
Right.
happen sometimes, yes.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, you're mentioning the plane crash. I mean, I have a ton of life insurance. I don't know about you, but I had this fear of leaving my family, in a horrible financial position because I'm 50 and I have an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old. My 8-year-old keeps correcting me. I'm 9 now, Daddy. She's 9. I have a 9-year-old and a 4-year-old, and and a young wife, and I just don't want to leave them alert. So I have a bunch of that. That helps me overcome that fear. But I don't have a fear of actually dying now. I have been on a plane. This was awful, man. I was on a plane and I went to sleep and I had a dream of crashing. And I woke up and we were still in the air. That was awful. But I don't have a fear of that.
Well, I was on a plane once that very clearly was having some sort of problems,
Yeah.
and we were flying to Columbus, Ohio from Dallas,
Right.
and we'd been gone for a long time, and then the captain came on and said, you know, hey, we got to turn around. We're actually going to go back to Dallas, and so sorry, guys. And then after he said something like, I can't remember the exact quote, but something like, we have children too, or something like that. But it was something that like everybody kind of looked at each other like, oh, what in the heck did that mean? And like people were like telling
Shook.
the stewardess, you know, like, what did he just say? And they were like, oh, you know, no big deal, blah, blah, blah. And I was just sitting there the whole time. That I actually was online, you know, on the plane Wi-Fi and sent my wife an email and told her, like, I was like, I'm not sure what's going to happen. Like, that's how. So yeah, anyway, that's just, it's, you know, you're flying in a little tube over the sky.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it can be. Well, you know, let's bring up some points. You know, one of them that I like is, you know, that fear can paralyze us, and it does me. I mean, if my mind gets going, it can shut us down, right? It's just it's awful. It puts us in a, you know, it's a worse or even more dangerous position than we're already in. So we have to change that mindset, and we're always talking about mindset because that's the key. We have to have those things, you know, the stop sign in front of your face or whatever it is. But, you know, the main thing is that, you know, faith over fear means pushing our fear to the side and replacing it with our faith, right? You got to change the word. So, you know, our dear brother, Bruce Pulver, was kind enough to send us some acrostics. So let's, you know, the first one that he sent us was the acrostic for fear. And if you're not a regular show, you don't listen to it regularly, why not? You should. But if you don't, our dear brother Bruce Pulver is a TEDx speaker. He's an author of this phenomenal book that I keep right here on my desk above the chatter, Our Words Matter. And what Bruce does is he writes words vertically. Well, I just knocked over a baseball bat. He writes words vertically and then writes them out horizontally. So the first word he put out was fear. The F in fear stands for fail. The E stands for every. The A stands for attempt. The R stands for regardless. Or, I love it because Bruce flips the script. He said the F could be for fuels. The E could be for energy. The A is for and the R is for resilience. So that's that mindset shift that we talk about. You could be, you know, fearful and fail every attempt regardless, or flip the script and fuel yourself with that energy of fear, and then produces resilience.
Yeah, it is the flipping the script, and it's about mindset, which we've talked a million times. It's about understanding. And again, I know that. I think, you know, when we look at our outline and some of the things that we research, it's interesting that when it talks about fear being a reaction to a perceived threat, right? And it comes in all shapes and sizes. And most of the threats are perceived. Now, if you're walking in the woods and you hear a bear growl, you probably should be scared and you probably should run. Or maybe you're supposed to just stand still. Whatever you're supposed to do, don't take my tip, advice. I've never been around a bear. But the other thing is that, you know, fear can be a God-given feeling, right? Fear
Yeah.
can be something placed in you to motivate you to drive you to succeed, to drive you to success, or to get certain things done.
That's so good. I never thought about that. I've never thought about that before.
I haven't thought about that either. We always see fear as this, oh, I've got to overcome fear. Like we said, even ourselves, it's self-induced. It's we create our own fear, and we're really programmed that way from a young age, or just it's naturally in us because we're humans. No, man, some of this fear may be very intentional and needed and placed in you by God.
Man, it's so good. And you struck a chord with me about what you were saying right there on a different topic. But, you know, I'll ask you a question. What do you think the number one driver of fear in the United States of America is? What would you think that would be? What I'm going to say.
Oops. What do I think? I don't know. Fear of what's that?
It's the television. It's the news. It's the fear peddling of the news. Whatever channel you decide to watch, turn that junk off. All they're doing on either side of that is putting fear into you. I mean, they've been talking about a recession forever. We've talked about that for the recession. Yes, we have high inflation, but I don't know about you, but my business is thriving. Yes, we have to pay more for things, but there's not a recession going on yet. It's coming. It's coming. You better get ready. The recession's coming. And it's like, come on, man, turn that junk off. Turn off the news. You know, the other acrostic that it's around all the time is for fear is false evidence appearing real. You know, we hear about that all the time. It's false. It's fake. So when you and I were kids, Walter Cronkite and, you know, Dan Rather and those guys, that was real news. You know what I mean? But now it's just an entertainment thing to make other people money and to put us in our place and put us in a box. Sorry, I'm going off.
Yeah, no, that was that was a good little thing. Yeah, when we were little, when we were young, yeah, it was the news, right? You watched it at 6 o'clock or whatever, and you'd watch the local news at 5:30 or whatever the times were.
Yeah.
And it was,
Pictures
you know,
at
30 minutes of reporting on things in, you know, Europe and South America and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, it changed. And that's great. I didn't, you know, I hadn't really thought about that. The driver fear. Yeah. So I don't watch a lot of news. I do throughout the day. I've got a kind of a ritual. I read CNN.com on my phone. I'll read CNN, then I'll read Fox, and then I'll go to CNBC, and then I'll go to Fox Business and just scan for articles and kind of try to see what's going on during the day. But yeah, you know, depending on which outlet you choose, I mean, believe it or not, Fox and CNN don't report on the same the same thing.
Right.
The stories are the headlines are a little bit different on those two channels.
Networks.
So,
yeah, we have a no political zone, so we're not saying that, but we're just saying, man, that the news isn't doing. You know, I actually have an email. It's called 144. No, I'm sorry. It's called Nice News. And so an email comes through and it's good things about people doing things for people. And that's what I like to see in the news. I do go to Drudge Report to scan like you do. But I want to see my brother, Matt Johnson, put a quote here and I want to read it. He's a phenomenal pastor. He's got an incredible program. And we'll mention that in a second, but I want to mention the quote before I go off on that. But he said, I was seated and buckled into a helicopter that at takeoff was removed and asked to move over to a different helicopter. 10 minutes later, the first helicopter went down and everyone in it perished. Obedience is important, especially over fear. Holy cow, Matt. That's crazy. That is a crazy story. So he was in a helicopter. 10 minutes later, I mean, God told him to get out of that seat. He got out of that seat. He obeyed, and then he's still here to talk about it. What a story.
Yeah,
That's
you know,
crazy.
fear, that is a great story. And that's a great example. And fear, there's just so many examples. My mind's kind of, as I'm starting to wake up here. No, but you know, fear of health issues sometimes drives people to exercise and eat better. And,
This guy, me, yeah.
you know, all that kind of stuff. I haven't exactly been doing the good eatings. I had a triple cheeseburger from McDonald's last night at 10 p.m.
You know, I haven't had a McDonald's cheeseburger in 12 years since I got diagnosed with.
You know, they have triple cheeseburgers.
I can't eat it.
So it's
I have
just 3 pieces and it's just a little. It's not like a triple quarter pounder. It's just a little triple cheeseburger. It's pretty good though.
Well, we were talking earlier. We were talking earlier about how cocaine shaves years off people's lives. I'm telling you, man, that triple cheeseburger is shaving years off your life. But I digress. I want to mention that Matt Johnson's program is Radical Manhood. Oh, and Will Ramsey is here. Focus Forward. I love you, Will. Good to see you. Wesley D. Mullaney's here, and she says, I agree. No one feels hopeful after watching the news. Amen. Terrence Elmore just pulled up. All of our brothers are here, man. Love you, Terrence. Good to see you. Man, Collin, you and I are going to have to make a point to get on a plane and go to the Carolinas and go barbecue with Terrence Elmore, right? We're going to do that.
He can read us some poetry while we're eating some
that'd be nice.
Some pulled pork or something.
Yeah, man, for Terrence to read and write us some poetry while we're eating some incredible smoked spices, saucy meats is what I was going to say. That's pretty funny. You know, one of the first things, this is a funny story, when I first started talking to my wife, I texted her and I was like, how you doing today? What you doing? And she was working in a restaurant. And she said, I'm slinging saucy meats. And I never forgot that. So that's where that came from. But yeah, we're talking about faith over fear, confidence over fear. And man, there are so many things that we can do. And Collin, you just mentioned exercise. I know that when I don't get my steps in, I'm a different person. That the anxiety, there is something about getting out, getting oxygen, get moving, get the blood pumping, right? That can change.
No doubt. And you've been doing the early morning exercise, or you've been doing that for a long time. So a
3
lot
years.
of people use excuses. A lot of people called Collin Harbour say, well, it's just too hot. I can't go exercise outside,
This morning in Pensacola, when I went out, it was, immediately, like when I walked out the door, it was a sauna. And there was like condensation all on my front door coming down. It's so humid and hot, but I still got my steps in. So, and that's the thing, making the decision to place faith over fear. It's a decision. It's a decision to go out and exercise. It's a decision not to eat the triple cheeseburger. It's a decision not to drink or do drugs or whatever that is. You have to make the decision. It's up to you. You have to do it. I can't do it for you. Collin can't do it for you. So you have to make the decision. Every time I hear decision, I think about that scene of Glenn Ross with Alec Baldwin. Have you made your decision for Christ? Yes, I have. And so you have to make that decision.
Yeah. And I think, when we talk about fear, when we talk about it in the context of fear, you can choose to be afraid of everything, or you can choose. I guess I'm going through an evolution as we talk through this, a healthy dose, maybe a healthy dose of fear, right? A healthy dose of fear, a healthy dose that, hey, this helicopter I'm sitting on, something's wrong. I need to get off and go over to this other helicopter. Or, hey, if I keep eating triple cheeseburgers at 10 p.m., I may not live as long as I want to.
I'm not busting on you, man. I'm just saying that's, it's not the healthiest choice, but I get it. Real quick, I want to acknowledge my buddy, Lad Davies. I used to work with at All Pro, phenomenal bass player, good brother. Love you, Lad. Good to see you. And I'm speaking this into existence. The beautiful lady that wrote Good Morning, Everyone is Linnell Burns, and we've already talked about it. Linnell is going to be a guest on Strike a Chord Live podcast, so we're putting it out there, Linnell. We're speaking into existence every Wednesday and Friday, 6:30 a.m. Central, 8:30 a.m. Eastern is when we'll do this. So next week, you want to do it, Linnell? Put it in the chats. We're talking about faith over fear, having confidence over fear, and some key takeaways. I really think we've mentioned some really good takeaways so far. First of all, get on your knees and pray to God. He will take that fear from you. I literally, Collin, when I'm in prayer, I'll hold my hands out and say, please take this fear. Please take this anxiety. Please take this doubt from me and replace it with the opposite.
Yeah.
It works.
I'm sorry. I was just looking. Somebody thinks you're amazing, Marcus.
That's Linnell. That's Linnell. She's my sister from another mister.
Okay. Okay. All right.
She said no pressure. Thanks. Yeah, no pressure. Anytime.
Yes. Pray for God to take the fear away. I think, remember though, sometimes the fear may be justified. Healthy. I think I'm going to start calling it a healthy dose of fear. A healthy dose of fear. I'm going to ruminate on that some today.
You need to coin that phrase. I don't think anybody's coined that.
I'm going to coin that phrase.
Yeah. You can say
I think I've already coined it. I just officially coined it.
Yeah, you need to make T-shirts.
A healthy dose of fear. I bet I could sell those T-shirts for like $6.50 each.
I'm making T-shirts, and it's going to be called this. I've coined myself. Can you do that? Can you name yourself something, or is that just like not really the way it's done?
I think pro athletes name themselves stuff all the time. So yeah, what did you
sorry.
What did you coin yourself?
I'm a faith dealer.
You're a faith dealer.
Yeah, man.
That's kind of cool because it's kind of a play on faith healer, but it's a little bit
different. And drug dealer.
Drug dealer, depending on
that's good. Yeah, I'm gonna make T-shirts with that. So anybody listening and watching, don't steal my idea.
So you're a faith dealer and you're dealing a healthy dose of fear to people. Not those two don't go together. Never mind.
Hey, Justina LeRae says, fear everything and run, or face everything and rise. I love that. That's so good. That's so good. Yeah, Peggy, good to see you. You jumped on later, but I did see you. Sorry we didn't acknowledge you. But Peggy Gossman doesn't miss a single session of Strike a Chord Live podcast. She is just, hey, will I see you Saturday night? Pensacolians, listen, White Tie's Facebook page got hacked, so we don't have access to it. We haven't been able to advertise as much as we could for the show on Saturday night. So ticket sales are a little down. So if you're in Pensacola, within the sound of my voice, man, White Tie Rock Ensemble, Saturday night, Pensacola Bay Center, formerly known as the Pensacola Civic Center, where Collin and I saw our first concerts, which was original Chicago with Peter Cetera in 1985. We're playing a tribute to British rock. We're playing the Rolling Stones. We're playing The Who, Bad Company, Paul McCartney and Wings, and Led Zeppelin. And once again, Collin, did you know that Paul McCartney had a band before Wings?
I know. It's hard to believe that he had a band before. Yeah.
He had more. Yeah, Terrence said, I love it. I have a T-shirt that says Hope Dealer. Oh, there you go. That's a play on words from Dope Dealer. I'm an idiot.
We're just kind of funny today. We're just full of ourselves, aren't we?
Well, I'm a lead singer.
Yeah.
You know how many lead singers it takes to screw in a light bulb? One to hold the light bulb and the rest of the world to revolve around him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, hey, Theodore White is here. I love you, Theodore. Good to see you. We're talking about faith over fear. We have just a few minutes to go. We got 4 minutes to go. We've had some incredible takeaways. First, pray. Second, exercise. What's some of the other one? Man, you said some good things.
3 is realize that sometimes the fear may be healthy. It may be right. It might be rightly placed, right? It might be something it might be steering you in a certain direction, right? So it's not self-induced fear is not what we're talking about. Again, if you're in the woods and you hear a bear growl, you're going to have a healthy dose of fear. You need to kind of figure out a plan, right? And it's the same thing in other aspects of your life. If you hear the proverbial bear growl, then maybe that fear was placed there by God. Maybe the fear is healthy and you need to do something else.
You know, every time you mention the bear growl, you know, our dear sister Pamela Bellotto that climbed Everest and is going to do it again. That's been on the session twice. She posted the other day, she was walking in Gulf Breeze and there was a camera on her neighbor's house and this bear, like she walked by and this bear comes out, dude, a black bear in Gulf Breeze is flooded with black bears.
We've talked about it. Me and you saw a bear on Spanish Trail one time. Nobody believes us. My mom still doesn't believe me.
No, it's a black bear. They're everywhere around here. Why? I mean,
remember we were coming from, wasn't that me and you? Yeah, it was me and you. We were coming from your house, walking to my house down Spanish Trail.
Dirt road.
I don't know what's there now. It's probably been developed, but it was just woods and there was that big opening.
Yeah.
And there was a bear down there.
Yeah, that big expanse, back then it was a clay dirt road. Collin and I drove on clay dirt roads as kids. That tells you a little bit about where we live. But that big expanse, the airport now owns it. So it's part of the runway for the airport. And Spanish Trail has taken a detour from where we used to use it.
Okay.
Linnell said she saw 2 bears last week. Holy cow. I know you live in the Northeast and you're going to relocate to ATL, but man, where do you live, Linnell? But yeah, so Collin has really the thing that I love that you said is that could be God-given fear. That he's like, look, you got to get out of this situation and move. So, we've talked about all the examples, and I've talked about one takeaway as prayer. The other takeaway is like Bruce said, Bruce Pulver, flip the script, and she's in Connecticut. Oh yeah, there's a bunch of bears there. So, we did Bruce's acrostic on fear, but we didn't do it on faith. Do you want to do the faith one before we go?
You do it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we first talked about the fear acrostic that Bruce had. You could be negative and say fail every attempt regardless, or you could flip the script, fuels energy and resilience. But his acrostic in faith, the F stands for facing, the A stands for anything, the I stands for insurmountable, the T stands for trust, and the H stands for him. So faith is facing anything insurmountable, trust him. Boom, mic drop. I think we could close on that right there.
I think we have to close. We're at the end of time, so that's a perfect closing.
We have to. Well, thank you, Bruce, for giving that to us. Thank you to everybody here listening and watching, especially as the kids call it on #replay. We love you guys. We can't wait to see you back here on Wednesday. We may even have Linnell Burns on next week. Who knows? But we'll see you next time for another sensational session of Strike a Chord Live podcast. Peace and chicken grease. We are out.